Hi everyone, welcome to the Action Movie Show. Once again, we're on time on a Monday. My name is Carlos Alcazar. How's it going, Manyninjas?
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. It's going good on this end.
Good stuff. Now this week we are going to talk about one of the quintessential '80s action movies. Didn't spawn a sequel, which for this man is kind of rare, but Sylvester Stallone is Marion Cobretti, also goes by the name of Cobra. So lots of things to talk about in this one, just because little things that entertain me. And of course, we have a requisite product placement. I did resist the urge to just grab another beer. This product placement is a little less blatant. They didn't even pick this brand in there anyway. Um, but there will be some opportunities to mention a couple of things that I feel are worth noting. So just to get us going, I'm going to give my quick rundown. Non-spoiler version. As an action movie, it's very much by the numbers. I will say that because Stallone did have a hand in writing this one, he did kind of go in a direction that I had watched the movie a couple of times before, but in rewatching it, made me realize what the hell, which is always a good thing when we're going back and reviewing them. There's a few moments in there where he almost seems to be unsure what genre he's actually writing for. Felt like he decided to write a completely different section of a movie in the middle before switching back. But it is a good solid action movie. It is Stallone kind of at one of his peak of his powers in the mid '80s when he's going on a run of his action movies. We're in the middle of the Rambo sequels. We're still in the middle of the Rocky sequels, and he's still got a couple of more movies left in his early run before he has kind of a lull period and then a career resurrection in more recent times. So that's kind of my short version. Manyninjas, your first initial thoughts?
All right. For the first thoughts, they were no shortage of product placements, just in the initial supermarket scene alone. But I digress. Moving on to the actual kind of non-spoiler version or non-spoiler review there. As an action movie, Cobra here is a nice, solid film. In terms of its protagonist, it's generally would be kind of its standard fare for what Stallone's roles in these various movies would be. As we mentioned, it's kind of slightly off-puttish character or off-put character that as you go with the story there, you'll be in to see him in a more sympathetic light as it goes on there. But in this case, I'd have to say the bad guy in this film, which is pretty much a serial character, is and everything that surrounds him is a bit underdeveloped by comparison. It's effectively you have your main character who's pretty much a cop that plays by his own rules versus a bad guy which is just stereotypically bad without much explanation. So in terms of your villain foil, it's not overly well thought out, but the action scenes are for the most part relatively nice there. The pacing seems a bit slower around the middle, but for the most part it keeps up pretty nicely, and it's hard to argue that it's not a great film, but it's not a bad film. It's one of those kind of middle-of-the-road action films, I'd say. Although it was, for things I'll explain a little bit later, it was still considered a memorable enough role and appearance that it did go on to inspire some other things later.
Absolutely. So you know what? I'll start at the beginning because it is worth noting. We get to meet the character fairly early on. So I'll kind of get right into it. So at the outset of the movie, the way we're introduced more or less to the character is that you're faced with a situation where you have the bad guy roll in on a motorcycle. He's gonna he's gonna take hostages, and he's actually gonna go in there, and he's going to basically hold up a supermarket. So he rolls into the supermarket, and in kind of '80s, we're gonna make this kind of blatantly obvious, even though the guy looks crazy to start off the top. But then on top of it, he's rolling in on his motorcycle, and he parks in the handicap parking spot, that dastardly fiend. And then he proceeds to walk into the supermarket and bump his way through people, prompting one of the bag boys to a rather large looking bag boy, actually. Pretty built. He looks like he works out a little bit. He could have probably been cast in a couple of our other action movies where the guys look like they had never seen a gym before. But the bag boy is about to confront him and, question the guy on what his deal is. Basically, he asks him if he needs any help or if if he needs anything. This prompts the guy to turn around, pull out a shotgun, and start firing all over the supermarket. Mass pandemonium breaks out, and then we kind of cut forward to now it's a hostage situation. The cops are not having much luck getting him to even talk to them. He's got his own little agenda that's really briefly mentioned. He wants media attention. He wants to get out a message. So they say, send in the Cobra. Insert Sylvester Stallone rolling in a like a classic muscle car with the brilliant license plate Awesome 50. Awesome spelled, I think, AWSOM 50, I believe.
That's correct.
If memory serves, yeah. So my only comment on that was Awesome 50 license plate. Really?
I'm thinking the 50 is supposed to mean something else, but I can't quite figure out what. And I wasn't able to figure out during the short time between watching and this recording, to be honest. But just generally, the fact you have awesome on your license plate means you're probably a little on the conceited side. And that car, as we learned throughout the course of the film, turns out it was a bit more tricked out than we were given credit for even what was just honestly a pretty nice looking muscle car to begin with. But okay, we have this guy that's pretty much just there, talking about the New World Order, which is something that will come up there. Although he himself doesn't even fit the regular MO of everyone else that is involved there, so really, what the hell is this guy's deal? Maybe he needed some help getting some damn razors, too, considering how everyone in the later part of the film is attached to kind of a plot that's introduced just after this about apparently attacks from a night slasher individual. And they had access to knives, and the very intro shows everyone banging together some sort of form of an axe or very sharp object, usually with an axe or something like that. Which, on a semi-related note, it's nice that the go-getters, this axe gang, I don't know if there's a real name for them that was introduced throughout this film, but aside from banging together their weapons in this deserted warehouse area, what else is it that they do there? I really don't know. I never figured that part out. Some of them go out and kill people. Apparently later on they try to wipe out a potential witness, but prior to that, it was basically, yeah, a couple of us are going to go out and actually kill people, including like the guy who's the head of this, but everyone else, yeah, we're just going to meet in dark, dank areas, and we're just going to, apparently we buy these things at 2 from various hardware stores. Bang, 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 bang. Are we saying anything? Bang. No. Bang. And what are we doing? Bang. I don't know. Bang. More play? Bang. Bang.
What you don't understand is that really this movie misunderstands. Unfortunately, the subtlety of Stallone's writing, it eludes. But fortunately, you have us to really dig between the lines and analyze. Really, what's happening there is it's very criminal elements, kind of a church group. Rather than having a choir, they have a rhythm section. Unfortunately, the instructor only knew how to play a single note with a pair of axes. It's like the monks in their chant. It's a way of achieving inner peace and tranquility.
I think what you're trying to say, they were trying to bang out the sound of Stallone yelling off screen, this and that about the law. Generally, what I
am the law.
No, that was too coherent. You have to really remember this. I don't think someone who can speak English in a reasonable fashion, you have to think Stallone as Judge Dredd. Him, you do. It sounds like a slur, possibly drunken, isn't it?
You can still make out law. Don't lie. You could still make out the word law in that movie.
Sometimes, but during the infamous scene, no, I don't recall it being that audible in that particular scene that we're all referring to and that I have captioned and shown here. And that hurts my throat trying to mimic that damn thing. Ah. Damn it.
For the record, while not a good movie, the original Judge Dredd underrated for glorious unintentional comedy. Except for Rob Schneider. Rob Schneider ruins lives. He sucks at literally everything. If you remove Rob Schneider from that movie, way better film. The New Dread, however, is way better than that one. But Rob Schneider ruined what the campy greatness of Sylvester Stallone Judge Dredd. That's all I'm saying. I will support this movie if for no other reason than it was hysterically campy to no end, except for Rob Schneider ruining everything.
All right, we need to move back to this current Stallone movie. We can talk about Judge Dredd another day. And trust me, we would have fun talking about Judge Dredd another day.
I am.
That's closer to the incoherent ramble that is Stallone.
Now go on. That picture demands the explanation that is going to lead to other things.
All right. So pretty much we're moving back to the Axe Gang here, which, if all those things, the movie didn't do a lot of things great, I'm going to be honest here. And pretty much, who's on camera right now? You or me?
Right now it's you.
Right now it's me? Yeah. Generally, they have a lot of fun with everything that's involved in the Axe Gang and the overly sharpened weapons that the Night Slasher character uses. And to be honest, they have a lot of fun using... Basically, they take angles and cuts based on previous films that have been done up to this point that are probably inspirations for the Night Slasher character that lead up to here, which I think now we'll cut to you, Carls, and you can explain what you got on there.
All right, now I'm going to cut to me. I'll let you know when I'm about to do it. What I want you guys to understand, and then I'll explain context as we go along, all right? So stay with me on this. We have an action movie. Now, it's still on you, Manyninjas. Hang on for a sec.
Yep.
So we've got an action movie that Sylvester Stallone wrote. Now, interspersed in this, at a certain point, we reach a case where one of the murders is basically witnessed by Bridget Nielsen's character. So she is, your heroine in distress, basically, who Sylvester Stallone will rescue, presumably by the end of the movie. This is the idea. So we end up having several sequences of people getting offed in different ways, but the camera angles, the lighting, all the conventions all feel very much like a slasher movie. I like your hand gestures. I do appreciate that. It feels very much like a total slasher movie, but even downright to the camera angle. All right, Exhibit A coming on the screen now. Work with me on this. This is from the actual movie. Now, it's super blurry because I had to take kind of a low-res image. Work with me on this. But basically, it's Bridget Nielsen in the background with the knife of the... It was a night slasher, right?
Yeah, the Night Slasher. They never gave him a proper name as far as I know.
So the knife of the Night Slasher is going through the door here at a hospital. You've got the camera angle of the knife going through the door as she screams, in terror, as she's being terrorized by this Night Slasher. Now, let me go back to you for 1 second. All right. Now, this highly, incredibly original, concept and camera angle has never been used before. Never in the history. Oh, wait, hold on a second. Now, this is a much clearer picture because it's a better res image. This is from Child's Play. That's Chucky's knife. But it's the same damn camera angle. It's the same stupid idea this isn't new. This isn't an idea that just came out of nowhere. The whole concept in this genre, we've got this camera angle down. Obviously, it's more comedic if you look at the first one compared to the second one. But the idea is the same. You've got the heroine here terrified that she's about to get stabbed to death by this thing here that's going through. I assume it's a door as well, but it might have been a wall, whatever the case is. So let me go back to you again for a second. And like I said, the concept of the heroine in distress while something horrible is about to happen, or that she's worried about something happening, is not a new concept. It comes up once or twice. Once or twice. Here's Johnny.
Johnny probably did it best.
I would agree. So it's back
it would
on
make more sense, at least.
Here.
You have an entire axe gang. You have everyone just hanging out. There's no shortage of axes. Just take one into the door. 1
second. Like this?
Yeah, pretty much like that. Exactly like that.
So I'm going to come back here. So the point I'm trying to make here is that for segments of this movie, Stallone seems to think that it's actually a Michael Myers movie. We could substitute Bridget Nielsen for Jamie Lee Curtis, and it would be better acted on that end. But I think the Night Slasher owes royalties to Jason Voohrees, Michael Myers, Chucky, Jack Nicholson.
Realistic, I'd actually have to argue, well, clearly it's very derivative for any scenes involving, or all the earlier scenes involving the Night Slasher. This actually works in the film's favor because literally the Night Slasher character, who I don't believe it's ever been properly announced, although if you let's be honest, if you look at him carefully, I'm pretty sure I've seen him in other places since then. I think he's an Emperor of Outworld. I've seen him before there, and I know I've seen him as a Klingon, so he's used to using very sharp objects in the past and present. But realistically, if you didn't have something where it's clearly based off the horror aspect there of the serial killer that is going around killing everyone, you really have nothing going for that guy. It's like, yeah, I'm in charge of this cult thing, which is vaguely mentioned at best, and if I'm not directly trying to kill people in the serial killer / way, all you see me for is like, I'm either trying to order people around or trying to shoot people in just like a regular killer, or I'm just in a dark room sharpening my knife. This one knife over and over again. That's all you see me for.
But a hell of a knife it is. Jokes aside, actually, his big weapon is actually pretty well made, or at least it has an interesting look, because he's got the blade, and then to go along with it, he seems to have a little segment there where you can grab it, and it's got kind of these spikes. So in theory, and it plays into a scene later on. It looks like you can use it as a stabbing weapon, but also like a bludgeoning and stabbing weapon. You could punch somebody with it, with the sharp edge here, or stab them with the main end of it there. I'll shoot back to you because I think you've got a picture of, I assume it's the weapon? I can't tell. Oh no, sorry. We got something else going on the screen there.
You knew with a name like Cobra, I would have to do this joke at least once.
I don't know what you're talking about. That seems like an accurate representation. Isn't that Stallone on the screen?
No, although it would have, considering how little they really worked, it would have made a more convincing bad guy than the bad guy here for the most part. It's like, yeah, I'm just a giant, kind of creepy-looking guy who pretty much, for my disguise, I'll just dye my hair a few times in the film. It's like change my clothes there. Oh, and I'll put on a pair of glasses and wear a janitor's uniform. And despite the fact my less than pleasant demeanor should give away, yeah, I'm clearly not here for good intentions, apparently it's enough to fool people for some reason. With the glasses on, it's like, yeah, this is the Clark Kent school of disguise is what you have with
I was going to say, you know what? You beat me to the punch, because I was going to say, if Superman has taught us nothing, is that a pair of glasses completely allows you to get away with everything. Here I am, your mild-mannered host for an action movie show speaking to a man dressed like a ninja. And now I take these off, and I'm a serial killer.
Joke's on you, ladies and gentlemen. He was a serial killer all along. Seriously.
It's true. It was me. But glasses back on, you'll never know.
Pretty much. All right.
I will say also that I actually, like I said, the pseudo horror movie element of it, it was hysterical. It made me laugh in ways that, like, I literally had to take a moment to just pause and really think about what the fuck was the man thinking. It did add an element of entertainment. I think, although to be fair, it actually does kind of help the movie stand out a little bit from the other action movies. Otherwise, it could have been, relatively speaking, as much as I enjoyed the character, and I do enjoy the character, to the point that because I can grow 80s Stallone hair, I still have a desire to go as Stallone in one Halloween, maybe this year. I got to go hit the gym and buff up a little bit, but I think I could probably pull it off. The 5 o'clock shadow and the Stallone hair, I already know I can get, and quite frankly, you just need a shirt. Just need a tight shirt and work out a little bit. It's completely doable. But as much as I like the character, having that element where it's like half of the movie turns into sort of a slasher film is kind of hilarious in its own way. You even have, and we didn't cover it as directly, but you also have a scene in a parking garage where Bridget Nielsen is running away from his character, and in the end, he ends up offing a guy who was trying to hit on her, taking out somebody else. I think also taking out a security guard who was shooting at the car by running over the security guard. So people are getting axed, people are getting stabbed with knives, people are being, bludgeoned or run over. They're being killed in all manner of ways. A lot of axes, though, and a lot of knives. But the bottom line is the body count is building up pretty well. For an action movie, the body count is about standard for a lot of these Stallone movies. But Stallone doesn't do most of the killing until the second half of the movie when he starts taking out members of the gang. Then his end of the kill count starts to go up. But up until that point, the Night Slasher is pretty much carrying the body count, which is a little unusual for an action movie that way. It does make it kind of interesting and make it stand out a little bit. I think that's the big one there. Yeah, you did mention also that the main guy looks ridiculously suspicious. Everywhere he walks, he's like, he might as well wear a sign that says serial killer. He looks like a dude who probably has killed a bunch of people because there's nothing about him that looks normal. His facial expression, nothing in the way he carries himself. It would be like Michael Myers walking into the middle of a mall and just walking around looking at everybody, completely conspicuous, and everyone just deciding to ignore it. No, this is completely normal. There's nothing wrong with this guy wearing this mask just walking around with the knife eyeing at us.
It's like the man at some point heard a voice from God. And it's like, God, what is it you want me to do? I want you to finish them. Finish them all. And that's what he started doing. But yeah, generally, pretty much to kind of reiterate the point, if it wasn't for this guy, this one completely creepy, coked out guy that they have on there, and they have put a more conventional villain, but it was like kind of a more standard series of killers or like a mob boss or that, something like that. This film would have really not been as memorable as it has been, although realistically, I can't even say it's one of the best films about Stallone there. It was, like I said earlier, I have to say this is kind of a middle-of-the-road action film setup, but it's still with just the weird stuff that was going on in there and the absolute overkill from what Stallone did throughout especially the later parts of the film. It still stood out enough that this particular film and the main character for it, Cobra or Coretti, ended up being kind of an inspirational point for a later series and later things going on there. Like something I actually brought up just prior to the recording starting here with Carlos. For those that are more inclined to watch some of the older school Japanese animation there, if you look at Cobretti's appearance here, and you happen to be a fan of the Fist of the North Star, otherwise known as Hokuto no Ken, especially if you look on one of the later arcs, you'll basically be able to tell just by looking at him that the main character for it, Ken/Kenshiro, will actually end up with a look that they'll explain off with some story elements, but a look that is effectively ripping off Stallone as Cobra right here, from the glasses and everything down, and the glove look and everything. That is actually a bit comical. They actually, in some aspect, a series which most people kind of give as the starting point for inspiring a lot of things later on, was itself inspired by a lot of 80s films and everything. 80s action films like Cobra here, and various other things that were basically like, if it wasn't Stallone thing or it was an Arnie thing, that ended up inspiring a lot of this stuff. So while it's not the greatest film, it still was good enough that it really could be drawn as an inspiration for later things.
Absolutely. Now I know that I think you have an exhibit for the class. So why don't I just come back here for a second, and while I do that, I'll let you kind of set up your exhibit.
Moment.
Yeah, I think I did end up taking a couple of notes. I think the thing that struck me is that a lot of of the elements, introducing Cobra's style, we'll put it that way, and then the slasher movie elements, a lot of that comes within the first 30 minutes. So they get right to it and they start putting it right away. It The product placements did entertain me. Manyninjas already showed a picture of one of the supermarket scenes with Cobra, where he's hanging out right beside a Pepsi, a Pepsi cooler with Coors right beside him. And of course, he does enjoy taking a requisite swig of some Coors before throwing the can as a distraction to help him take out the bad guy in the supermarket. There are other little product placements all over the rest of the map, but as you go along and it happens, that's basically how you do it. So why don't we go back? So Manyninjas, I think you have something for us.
Now the question, ladies and gentlemen, which one is Sylvester Stallone, and which one is an animated or a scan from the original Japanese animation books done for the series? Can you tell, Carlos?
I am the law.
Yep, both of them basically are. All right, excuse me, just switch back to, well, let's go back to my regular slides here.
But you can kind of tell, let's put it this way. Doing it the way the Stallone did, and there's one other thing that I will cover in regards to this, but doing it the way they did create a character that, even though it didn't spawn any sequels, did resonate a little bit, as a character. It wasn't his biggest movie, wasn't his most famous movie, wasn't really, critical acclaim. No, absolutely not. But it was entertaining, and the character had a distinct look that was really interesting. You had, from the gloves to the muscle shirt with the kind of the aviator glasses, the hair, the whole thing, right down to the fact that you have kind of a very interesting style for your villain, basically being a slasher movie partway through an action movie. And then you also have the dynamic of the lead actress, Bridget Nielsen, being married to Sylvester Stallone at the time. So, you kind of see, and that'll lead me into kind of my next point, you very much see that the movie was two-sided. It was a movie that Stallone made, an action movie to try to get, to try to do well and make money. But at the end of the day, it also was kind of an excuse to be I think in a way, it was kind of supposed to be a launching pad for Bridget Nielsen. She had already done Red Sonja. I think by that point she had already been in Rocky III as Ivan Drago's manager, interpreter, girlfriend, whatever that relationship was. I don't recall offhand. So she had, credits. She was kind of she was becoming a sex symbol in the 80s. If you have the chance to kind of see her stuff later on in the 2000s where she was hanging out with Flavor Flav, some questionable decisions were made afterwards, but at the time, she was in a lot of things. I think she might have been in one of the Beverly Hills movies. I'm just trying to think. I
don't want to remember that.
I'd have to take a look. Well, actually, let me take a quick look at that. I think she was, because it's not like there were that many. It's not like there were that many super tall blonde women who went with short hair at the time, because she did kind of stand out for that. Let's kind of go back here for a second. All right, so yeah, Red Sonja, Rocky 4. Oh, sorry, Rocky 4, not Rocky 3. Rocky 3 was Mr. T. Rocky 4, Beverly Hills Cop 2. Yes, that is right.
Yeah, no, that's it.
Yeah, so yeah, no, she was to put it that way, her first movies were Red Sonja, which was basically a Conan the Barbarian ripoff with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Well, it was not literally a ripoff, since it was all based in the same general world. It's the same Hyperborean age, so literally it was basically they're done by the same authors, everything. So it belongs to the same universe, but generally that film was an absolute flop. So that's another story there.
Yeah, so she was in that movie with Schwarzenegger, then Rocky 4 with Stallone, Cobra with Stallone, and Beverly Hills Cop 2, which, was the second movie still did very well. So 3 out of 4 ain't bad right out of the gate. You
Mhm.
can't really argue with that. It's a pretty solid feat of work. Although it was kind of gratuitous to have your musical montage prior to her being in the horror movie. Her musical montage is her doing a modeling stint posing with really cheap 50s era looking robots.
This would probably be my cue to start posing with something ridiculous on my end. But we're a class act here at I can't tell right now. At Action Movie Show. So we're not going to do it this week. But if you notice a cameo in the background, that's all I'm going to say on the matter.
Yep. So basically, the montage was, interspersed modeling shoot with cheap ass robots, Stallone walking the streets, questioning people, trying to find the night slasher. And that's what leads us to the parking lot scene, which leads us to the first of the Cobra slash untitled Halloween sequel.
Which is funny you say Halloween sequel, considering that based on all the props around here, this was taking place around Christmas time, making this yet another Christmas themed movie or Christmas timed movie that we have done at this point. We do a lot of holiday movies here.
It is very true. But let's put it this way. I would say Christmas time movies, we had Die Hard, and was there another one that was Christmas time directly?
I know for a fact there was, but I am drawing a blank right now. I know
A
there was at
Christmas
least one
time
more.
themed movie that we've
Yeah,
done.
yeah. I know there has to have been at least one more, but I'm drawing an absolute blank right now.
Hold on. We have the YouTubes. So,
Die Hard
you
is
know,
the most obvious one, though.
yeah, the camera's still on you, so hang tight, entertain the people.
I'll generally, while Carlos is looking that up, I'm going to go over a few of the notes I've just written down here in general. First of all, you have your obvious product placements all over the place in this film. It's basically about as subtle as it was in our review of Total Recall, which, as you know, was full of product placements all over the place for that one. Because apparently in the future, we're still being entirely blasted by logos everywhere, which, considering all things, isn't actually far-fetched. Let's see, the next thing. I just want to emphasize or pretty much to state that I am all for the constant usage of crinkle cut fries that were used throughout the course of this film. Because let's be honest, crinkle cut fries are the best fries. You can taste the ridges. Carlos doesn't want to believe me on this, but you can taste the ridges, and it's the same thing with crinkle cut potato chips. All the ripples on the ripple chips make it taste better.
I actually already had the answer to the question, but when he went on a tangent about ripples on the chips and ripples on the fries, I saw no reason to stop him. I suppose it's better than him posing with a stuffed ninja bear. Only marginally.
Another thing is generally, if you have a machine gun, why do you need a machine gun with a laser sight on it? Just how much good is a laser sight on a machine gun? I'm going to say a submachine gun going to do, really? It seems excessive. I mean, it might be light to just point the light on things, but realistically, with the exception of the one deliberate scene near the last battle there, let's be honest, it didn't exactly come into play a lot. Let's see, is there anything else there? Also, during one of the initial chase, or one of the earlier chase scenes, pretty much the car chase scenes, I want to give full props to, I'd say around the halfway point of that, I believe, give or take, there was a toll booth operator who managed to open the gates not only for one, but both racing cars in order to keep the gates from being shattered, which in most of these action movies tends to not be the case. Those things get run through pretty much every other film, except for this one where the gate operator was able to open both the gates in time. So bravo to you, good sir.
You know what? That's a very good point. I would say I now that you mention it, I did notice that he did manage to lift both of the gates and everything that got destroyed, even the cars that were in that chase, both of them ended up getting totaled. Out of everything that happened in that scene, the only thing that didn't get destroyed, which included overhanging street lights and everything else, the only thing that left completely unscathed was the toll arms, which is kind of an interesting twist. I suppose it comes down to these guys really did it in certain weird details. They decided to go off in a different direction, which definitely stood out. So I would say that kind of gives a good overview of what happened with this movie. It was very different. It was very distinct. There were a lot of like little references there as I went off on kind of my little slideshow of horror movies. It did borrow from a lot of places. It took inspiration, shamelessly in different times. It took inspiration, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. In an action movie, at the end of the day, it's really hard to come up with a highly original concept for an action movie at this stage in the game, especially when you've got the tried and true. Someone in distress, hero goes to save them. They face adversity. They rack up a big body count, save the day, get the girl or the kid or whatever, or save the town, save the planet, whatever the case may be, and ride off into the sunset, in this case, in a motorcycle with his then wife. From that standpoint, it worked. It worked reasonably well. I think I'll go back to you for 1 second. I am going to look this up as I speak, but let me take a look.
You want to know something, ladies and gentlemen? 1 second, I need to move the mic closer because I can't say this too loud. I am the law. The law. The law.
Again, I probably could have interrupted, but he was having a moment, and I didn't have the heart to do so. Just as a point of
hurts my throat.
Yeah. And that's what you get, and that's the kind of high quality entertainment you get every week on the Action Movie Show. Think about that. No, the point I was going to make was that as per what we were referencing, this is the second Christmas movie. It's actually only been the two. But I can guarantee you, and I'm telling you this right now unequivocally for the record, and I will not stand for anyone arguing, this movie, Cobra, as far as a holiday Christmas movie, action movie, is easily in the top two.
Yeah, that's pretty fair to say at this point.
Top two. Without a question. Also, the other thing I'm looking up, Manyninjas right now, it's on you. Mm-hmm. So, but the other thing I'm looking up here real quick, I'm just finishing this off. I'm just trying to get an idea for how the movie itself did box office wise. Yeah. Just trying to get a little bit of an idea here.
All right, let's see. Wow. I'm hard pressed to think of too many other things. The problem with this film at this point, while Carlos is looking at this, I can't say too much more on my part, just because realistically, we kind of covered what we need to say about this film, because it wasn't really an in-depth film. There wasn't a great deal to talk about, and honestly, it wasn't bad enough in order to really make fun of, because it wasn't a bad film. It wasn't a great film. It's one of those middle-of-the-road films, like I've been saying all along at this point. Which, unfortunately, at this point, I think, after Carlos is here, would it be fair to say I think we've hit the dearth of what we can do with this film?
Unless you really have your, let me come back here. Unless you really have your heart set on doing one or two more I Am the Laws, yes, I would say we've probably covered it. The only thing I was going to add here was that the movie itself grossed domestically in the United States a little over 49 million, which brought it into the top 15 for that year. Some decent movies were ahead of it, deservedly so. It didn't do that badly, all things considered. There are some bad movies that were below it, but even a movie that a lot of people remember kind of fondly, like The Fly, for the science fiction folks. It grossed more than that. It really kind of comes down to how much it actually cost them to make it. But anyway, it like as it sounds like, it wasn't. It was far from his best. It was far from his worst. It was kind of in the middle, but it did get kind of an iconic character, which did manage to bleed over into other media, and it gave us a little bit of fodder for entertainment. So from that standpoint, you know what? My overall verdict: watch it. Go get it in the bin. They have them. They have them in the. They have them usually on sale, or you can get them as part of a Stallone pack. I know for a fact that they have like a 2-pack and a 3-pack in different places. Absolutely, go for it. It's a good time for about an hour and a half. Can't go wrong. Um, so what are your final thoughts then on the movie Manyninjas?
Yeah. I think I've basically said my final thoughts. Is it worth a rental? Sure. If you can get it for cheap enough, yeah, it's generally good. I'd say it's not the greatest film. There are definitely a lot of films I would list as something you look for first, but generally speaking, Cobra is still a pretty good film there. And let's see, is there anything else I need to say here? No, I think that's basically it.
Magnificent. Well, why don't we do then? We'll finish off the show with, of course, shameless plugging. I'll start with myself because it's really, really simple. Still opening boxes, almost done. Literally almost done. I am so close. So very close. So I almost have a fully functional house in every way. Office is looking good. Obviously, the barren walls behind me mean I've got to hang some things, but we'll get there. Working on it. In terms of updates and things, I finally got around to updating it. I did update the website, carlosalcazar.org, with the most recent action movie shows, all the links and everything. I will put this one up soon after this one goes up. Updates also available at Carlos Alcazar 2. So that's it for me. Real easy. Manyninjas, shameless plugging.
All right. Well, in terms of my shameless plugging, as per usual, you can find me on Twitter at Manyninjas. My website is iammanyninjas.com for various videos and updates. Easiest way to get to my channel or my videos that I usually upload on YouTube. Admittedly, I was running a bit behind just because some extra things that came up. So I have one or two video projects that I need to finish up in order to put online, as well as a few phone calls I apparently need to make in order to get some other stuff on the way. That's in terms of my regular plugs. I have nothing specific that I want to mention that I'm working on right now. But seriously, ladies and gentlemen, crinkle cut fries and rippled potato chips are awesome.
And there you go. Now, that leaves us with one final piece of business. Sadly, we didn't discuss it before the show, so we're going to do it right now. This was Action Movie Show number 16. We must now discuss what's going to happen on next week's episode. I'm open to suggestions. Manyninjas, speak to me. What do you want to do?
I'm trying to. I don't believe it's a martial arts week, or at least it's not intended for that.
Well, I can tell you if in a minute. Why don't you give it some thought for a moment, and you can tap dance on the screen or something. It's on you.
Yeah. Let's see. Now, most immediate film I have in my hand is something we would not be reviewing. I don't believe Wreck-It Ralph fits in under the action movie section. Now that's not gonna work.
Probably not. It might not fall within that context.
Yeah, right. I'm trying to.
Yeah, you are correct that we did do a martial arts movie for number 13. So this will be the third one in the cycle. Well, actually, hold on a second.
I think the cycle got partially thrown off partway through, so that might be something to do there.
No, hold on. I'm just checking it out. I'll leave it up to you. We're actually this will be the third non-martial arts movie in a row. So, based on that, we would be totally justified in doing one, or we could do a regular action movie.
Yeah. The thing is, I'm trying to think either way. because there's distinct possibility. I'm trying to think of something I have on hand right now, or either of us would have handy. Well, I have joked about doing at least one of the Death Wish films before in the past. Although, realistically, the more comical ones are anything that's like Death Wish 3 and above. But I don't happen to have any of those handy in a properly watchable format. So, let me think.
I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
Even though you're for obvious reasons, the comedy element of it,
Yeah.
I really do think that you will get a lot more mileage out of Death Wish 1. But you know what? How about I propose this? Let me come back over here, and let me throw this at you. We've done a lot of Stallone. We've done a lot of Schwarzenegger. We've done Jean-Claude Van Damme. We've got the standard guys. We've even got some Steven Seagal. A couple of them.
I can think of a name we haven't talked about yet, which I think you're about to get into.
Who do you think I'm going to talk about?
We haven't done any Jason Statham, have we?
We have not. He is on my radar screen. But what I was thinking is, if it's not going to be a martial arts movie, we can give you a week to think about it, and we can do the martial arts movie the following week.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm thinking is, let's go with guys that aren't directly associated with just action, but they have done movies that could qualify. How about Face Off?
I could see Face Off working. Starring two absolute nutters, so why not?
John Travolta, Nicolas Cage, no holds barred, craziest one wins.
And no matter who wins, everyone loses.
Precisely.
Probably gonna get attacked by bees too. Because goddamn Nicolas Cage.
Or Xenu. I think it's Xenu.
I'm not gonna even go there, because I think we'll have to redact that part. Otherwise, can't promise anything if anything happens to your YouTube channel for mentioning that name. So we'll not talk about it any further.
It's gonna get mentioned.
They're watching us, you fool. Stop talking.
So it'll be Face Off next week. Nicolas Cage, John Travolta. May Xenu help us all.
I have leaned too far in this chair. This will end badly, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take it back.
I'm trying to keep some level of professionalism and decorum, and you're not helping.
We gave up on that shit a few episodes back.
That doesn't mean we can't pretend. What's wrong with you?
I just want to remind you how this works, Carlos. You're the dude over there, talking there, and your first thought is like, yeah, I need someone to co-host this whole thing. Yeah, now I could get pretty much some of this bit more of a. I think your roommate would be a bit more of a film-savvy guy as well. There, or talk to one of the other people. No, I'm gonna talk to the ninja. Yeah, I'm gonna talk to that guy, the ninja over there, the one that's now currently parading around and doing multiple films involving a stuffed animal in the background, or presently on camera. Yeah, that's the guy I'm gonna go for help. You knew what you signed up for.
I'm still gonna pretend. May Xenu help us all. Also, that's this week's Action Movie Show. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I say please like, subscribe, and comment if you wish. You can curse us for possibly mentioning questionable deity who will remain unnamed for the 5th time. Obviously, if you have any comments about next week's episode or the movie itself, if you have a chance, check out the movie ahead of time. It is a fun movie. We're going to have a chance to really talk about it. And then we will both see you again next week. Between now and then, remember, enjoy yourselves, watch some great movies, sweet dreams, and hopefully nobody puts a knife through your door and tries to stab you.
Take it easy, ladies and gentlemen. And remember, I'm completely serious about the crinkle cuts and rippled potato chips.